She called her grandmother a worthless old woman. The words cut sharper than any knife, leaving the frail woman in tears. It wasn't just disrespect, it was betrayal. For years, Grandma had been the backbone of the family, silently sacrificing everything she had. Yet here she was, standing in her granddaughter's living room, being humiliated in front of friends and relatives. The young bride-to-be tossed her head back, laughing with her bridesmaids. "Why don't you just sit down and stop embarrassing me? You can't even afford a decent dress, Grandma." The room fell into silence. No one defended her. But what the granddaughter didn't know was that behind her wedding dress, her flowers, and even the grand hall where she was to be married, stood the very woman she had just insulted. The secret was about to erupt, and when it did, every word she spoke would come back to haunt her. Grandma Louise wasn't rich. She never had fancy jewelry, expensive clothes, or even a car of her own. What she did have was grit, love, and a heart bigger than anyone around her realized. She had raised 3 children almost entirely on her own after her husband passed away when she was in her early 40s. Life hadn't been easy. She worked double shifts as a cook, then cleaned houses on weekends just to keep food on the table. Her children had long grown up and moved out, chasing their own lives. Some remembered her sacrifices, others seemed to forget. But to Grandma Louise, her pride and joy was her granddaughter, Nicole. From the moment Nicole was born, Louise poured every ounce of love into her. She babysat for free, paid for school books when her parents couldn't, and even skipped meals so Nicole could eat well. Nicole had big dreams. She wanted a grand wedding, a fairy tale with chandeliers and roses. But her family's finances were strained, and no one thought it possible. That's when Grandma Louise made a decision. Quietly, without telling anyone, she began to save every dollar she could. She wore the same old shoes for years, patched her dresses instead of buying new ones, and even sold her late husband's tools, all to make sure Nicole's wedding dream came true. But love, when taken for granted, can turn into heartbreak. And one cruel evening, everything Grandma Louise had hidden would come crashing into the light. In the weeks leading up to the wedding, Grandma Louise felt a quiet joy in her heart. Every time Nicole showed her a picture of a wedding dress, she smiled, pretending she wasn't the one secretly paying the deposits. Each time Nicole raved about the catering menu, Louise's heart swelled with pride. She'd slip cash to the wedding planner, her arthritic hands trembling as she handed over wrinkled bills she had collected over months of scrubbing floors. "Don't tell anyone it came from me," she whispered, wanting Nicole to have her moment without guilt. At family dinners, Louise listened to Nicole gush about her big day, but there were cracks in their bond. Nicole had grown distant, her words sharper, her patience thinner. She often rolled her eyes when Louise asked too many questions or offered advice. "Grandma, times are different now. You don't get it," Nicole would sigh. Still, Louise brushed it off. Young people had their moods. She told herself love mattered more than words. But a shadow lingered in her chest, a feeling that the granddaughter she had poured her soul into was slipping away, blinded by pride and the glitter of her big day. Then came the bridal shower. Friends, family, bridesmaids, all gathered in one room, buzzing with excitement. Louise wore her best dress, the one she had mended countless times. She wanted to be there for Nicole, to show her support. But that night, instead of gratitude, Grandma Louise was about to face humiliation so cruel it would bring the entire room to silence. The bridal shower sparkled with laughter and champagne glasses clinking in celebration. Nicole looked radiant, her friends doting on her every word. The room was decorated with pink balloons and silver streamers, every detail carefully planned. In the corner, Grandma Louise sat quietly, her wrinkled hands folded in her lap, her eyes shining with pride. She had no gift bag or ribboned box like the others. Her gift was already hidden behind every detail of the celebration itself. But then, as the laughter grew louder, one of Nicole's friends asked, "So, Nicole, what's Grandma giving you for the wedding? Something sentimental, maybe. Nicole let out a sharp laugh, the kind that made Louise's heart stumble. Grandma, please. She can barely afford her own groceries. What could she possibly give me? Honestly, sometimes I wish she wouldn't even show up. It's embarrassing. The room froze. Louise's smile faltered, her cheeks burning red. She tried to brush it off with a gentle chuckle. Oh, Nicole, you know I'll always give you what I can. But Nicole cut her off. What I need, Grandma, is support from people who can actually do something. Not someone who just sits around in old clothes acting like she matters. Gasps rippled through the guests. Some shifted uncomfortably, others stared at the floor. Louise's eyes filled with tears. She had scrubbed strangers' floors until her back ached, sold her husband's tools, and skipped her own meals. All for the wedding her granddaughter now mocked her for being too poor to contribute to. But she said nothing, because in that moment the secret still burned quietly in her chest. And soon, everyone, including Nicole, would find out the truth she had been hiding all along. The air was thick after Nicole's cruel words. Some guests whispered under their breath, others shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. Grandma Louise quietly rose, her trembling hands clutching the back of her chair for support. Her eyes glistened with tears, but her voice, though soft, carried across the room. Nicole, she said gently, I never wanted you to feel ashamed of me. All I ever wanted was to see you happy. Nicole scoffed, rolling her eyes. Happy? Grandma, you can't even buy me a gift. Just sit down, okay? Stop making this about you. The silence was deafening. That's when the wedding planner, who had been quietly sitting near the door, suddenly stood. She looked at Nicole with an almost shocked expression. Wait, didn't you know? Almost everything for this wedding has been paid for by your grandmother. Nicole blinked. What are you talking about? The planner opened her folder and pulled out receipts, handwritten notes, envelopes of cash, even checks signed with shaky handwriting. The venue deposit? Paid by Louise? The catering advance? Louise? The flowers? The decorations? All of it. She insisted her name never be mentioned. She wanted it to be a surprise for you. Gasps filled the room. Every eye turned to Nicole. Her smug smile melted into horror. Grandma Louise stood quietly, tears streaming down her cheeks. I didn't need credit, Nicole. I just wanted you to have the wedding of your dreams. I've been saving for years, going without things, working extra hours, because I love you. Nicole's knees buckled as the weight of her words crashed down on her. The bridesmaids stared in disbelief. Friends whispered. She called her worthless. Nicole dropped her glass, her voice breaking. Grandma, But Grandma Louise only shook her head softly. Some things, child, you can't take back. Words cut deeper than money ever could. Nicole's face turned pale. For the first time, she realized her grandmother's worth had never been in riches, but in the sacrifices, love, and strength she had been blind to. And in that moment, karma delivered its lesson, not with anger, but with truth. The room never felt the same after that night. Nicole's cruel words echoed louder than the music or laughter, haunting her long after the guests had gone. She had torn down the very woman who had built her future with tired hands and endless sacrifice. Grandma Louise didn't scold, didn't shout, didn't seek revenge. Her quiet dignity spoke louder than anything she could have said. And that silence was the heaviest punishment of all. Nicole would go on to marry, but her wedding day carried a shadow, a reminder of the moment she nearly lost the one person who had loved her the most. The lesson is simple, but unforgettable. Never underestimate the value of someone's sacrifice, and never mistake humility for worthlessness. Because often, the people we overlook are the ones holding our world together. Love them while you can. Respect them while they're here.